record to the cloud. All right. I am Joel Tyner, former county legislator at large from Dutchess, now in Oregon. And everybody wants to go around and introduce themselves, and we'll get the show on the road.
I can go. I'm Sandi Stratton-Gonzalez. I am a Dutchess County resident. I live in Wappingers Falls. I'm a mother of Mothers Out Front Dutchess, and I'm a member of Mothers Out Front Dutchess, and a member of the Beacon Climate Action Network. I wanted to share some of the news and dates of the Trash the Incinerator Roadshow. And I will apologize in advance not being able to stay past 9 o'clock, but I have been up since 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had an event I hosted an event in the city today. And that required me to get up really early to be there by 7.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It gets harder as you get older.
Yes, I can verify that. My name is Neil Seldman. I live in Montclair, New Jersey, just moved here. I used to live in Washington, D.C. for many years. And believe it or not, I started working with Joel Tyner when I had brown hair. That was, let me see, I don't know the date, but it was at least 10 years ago. This is a long-term effort, and I'm looking forward to the next stretch.
Hi, I'm Phil Stamatis. I'm a member of the Conservation Advisory Committee in the city of Beacon, and I chair the residential compost program in Beacon. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Shabazz just joined.
I'm Dave Hiller. I live in Rhinebeck, working on all things ranked choice voting related, doing biochar. Zoom call tomorrow at 2. If anybody's interested, look in the chat. I put the link up there. The Zoom meeting number and the passcode.
Thank you.
I'm Marcia Slatkin. I'm not visualized up there. I don't know why. I used to be active a long time ago in environmental things, but I certainly want to be active now in composting because that's really central, I think. So who's left?
I'll jump in. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Mike,
Hi, Mike.
Mike Ewall with Energy Justice Network, based in Philadelphia, and help people all around the country fighting trash incinerators and other noxious industries. Joe, if you're talking, we can't hear you because you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Pete Van Aken, did you want to introduce yourself? All right, Peter's an amazing activist for a long time from the city of Poughkeepsie. Mom, did you want to say something?
No, that's okay. Let's go.
All right. If we could have Neil go first, and then Shabazz and Sandi and Michael, can we do it like that? And then Philip. So Neil, give us the update. What's going on in your world?
Sure. My believe it or not, some part of my world is not dealing with waste and recycling. The last couple of months, I've been split between working on all my traditional recycling projects, because Dutchess is one of maybe 7 areas that I'm working in, doing similar stuff. And the other half is my interest in Frederick Engels, Karl Marx's partner. And I'm in the middle of and toward the end of putting together a series of lectures on it, which I share with people. It won't be ready for a while, though. But as far as the recycling work goes, I have been spending a good deal of time writing an article. In fact, it's been broken down into 2 articles. And the gist of part 1 of the article, which should coming up soon, and of course I'll let people know. But it's the legacy, the theme of the article. This part is only 2,500 words. Is that our era, post World War II until now, has had 3 major movements since the 1960s. And these movements are the recycling movement, which started in the late 90s. All of these movements are grassroots, started by mom and pop people, backyards, porch, recycling, drop-off centers, exactly the way compost is happening now in this country. That was the recycling movement, started in 69, 70, and proceeded. The second movement was the anti-incineration movement, which came in the late 70s, 80s, when 300 communities were threatened with incinerators at the same time. And, excuse me, and actually 400, about 90 were built. Mike Ewall knows the numbers better than I. And the third movement was the Zero Waste movement, which we could date literally to 1995 for reasons I don't want to go into now. And all of those movements reinforced each other and they were not subsumed. Yeah, I guess the word is subsumed. They all became one, and we now call the Zero Waste movement. And the legacy of those 30 years of struggle, of grassroots struggle against big monopolies in different government, et cetera, is around the country, we have cities that are approaching 90% use. We have LA 74%. Portland and Seattle are in the 70s. San Francisco's in the 70s. I know these statistics aren't hard statistics. Some cities measure this, some cities measure that. But these cities have reached the level where we can say zero waste is possible. 90% diversion, no incineration, toxic organics out of landfill, toxics out of products and packaging. So that's our legacy. And one last thing about the legacy, and that is that these cities have done this in different ways, but more or less similar ways, the laws, mandates, and so forth. And they have done this using strategies, tactics, policies, programs, enterprises that are universal throughout the country. So it means any city, including Philadelphia, that has a 7% recycling rate, can get to where San Francisco and Seattle and all the good cities are. That's our legacy. We created a path. Now, from let's say 2000 on, and by the way, we all know that recycling went from virtually 0 to 35% in 30 years, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then from there, we've been steady at 35% because of, as I said before, industry and government indifference. But since 2000, we've continued to kill incinerators, and now it's virtually impossible to build a garbage incinerator in the United States. It's state of the art. We know how to kill them, and we're very good at it. We beating the tens of thousands of us in the zero waste movement. Dog is shutting down these old dynamos, and we have new tactics. We have yes, they should be called weapons, but they'll be called strategies and tactics. Right to repair, unit pricing, composting, which is exploding, as we all know, And I go through all the deconstruction building and all the sub-movements within zero waste that are moving forward. And then I, of course, will end with a prediction that we're going to get to zero waste by 2060.
Oh, God.
But we have, as always, we have big industry and indifferent government or incompetent government, sometimes malicious government, stopping us. And the biggest threat now, and Mike here will help me, because I heard a couple of lectures, I took notes, but I don't quite understand all of it. But if the oil and plastic industry and the incineration industry can get their way, I won't go into details. They want to produce more plastic and burn more plastic, and it's suicide for the planet, of course. So the Friends of the Earth and Clean Water Action National just came out with two great reports on this issue. Not only what's happening, how the industry is trying to get EPA to reclassify this and that. I won't go into details. Mike may want to add something. And they want to change the RPS, all this stuff that they're doing to fuel plastic and incineration, and it's suicidal, and we have to stop it. And I'm sure we will, but that's the attack now, and so much now because of the legacy. The legacy is we can do this. I'll tell you, I can quote in my notes the people in industry back in the 70s who said 10% was, you can't get 10%. Then it was a big deal when EPA said 25%. And of course, we documented all of this, all of that. But we're really close to zero waste. But the enemy, and here's an expression that I think is pertinent, and then I'm going to stop. That is, if the environmental consciousness, if the horrors, the bad environmental stuff in the 60s got people alerted, which it did, cars, all that stuff, that was like a candle. What the environment what we're facing now is a burning bush, a house on fire, the planet. It's, global warming and plastics, if you forget about war, are going to kill us. There's no doubt about it. So we're better at it. We have more weapons, but the danger is greater. And of course, the industry is just as powerful as ever, although we've beaten them before, but not the final battle, and so forth. So that's what the article is about. The second part of the article, which will come out a month later, is detailing our weapons and how they work, with great quotes from Anna Giordano in New York. I just called a lot of people and got good quotes. And of course, there are 2 paragraphs that are dedicated to Mike's work, which I summarize, but will not publish until he reviews them, because I've learned so much from Mike, and what he's doing with the WARM model and the waste hierarchy, among other things, is one of our strongest weapons. Along with, as I said before, Clean Water Action people. Her name was Cynthia Powers, and the Friends of the Earth young woman was Sarah Lutz, Lutz, and they gave the detailed breakdown of what industry is doing to reclassify, literally say incineration is not incineration. So I am grateful to all the people who fed me this information, and that's what I've been spending my time on, piecing this all together. Altogether, it's about 4,000 words. My wife has been kicking me to make it shorter and shorter.
Well said. That's Neil Seldman, the director of the Recycling Cornucopia Project for Zero Waste USA.org and founder of the Institute for Local Self-Reliance. So half of me says my mom should talk next. Half of me says Shabazz should go next. Half of me says Sandy should go next. And half of me says Mike should go next. So, Mom, who's next? Who's next, Mom? Who's next?
You don't have that many tabs.
So who's next, Mom?
First base.
What?
How about Sandy and then Shabazz? Is that okay? Because I don't know how much Sandy can and I want Shabazz to do like a presentation. He's doing something really exciting in Poughkeepsie. Sandy, are you still there? I'm gonna unpin.
So I have been working with Johanna Fowler and my friends at Mothers Out Front Dutchess on what we're calling a road show. Trash the Incinerator, Clean Air for Dutchess County. We have a PowerPoint that is in second draft format, and the following specific plans. We're going to do a Zoom sort of practice run of the PowerPoint on the 19th. A bunch of folks from Sierra have volunteered to participate in that. John Rath is setting that up. I will send everybody the link if you'd like to come. We would love to have feedback. Then on the 21st of April, as part of Earth Day weekend, the Unitarian Universalists of Poughkeepsie are hosting us from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. After their service to do the presentation there. We're the featured event of their sort of afternoon Earth Day celebration, and there will be several organizations tabling. So that's an opportunity for anybody who wants to do that. We'll combine our slide presentation with like a letter writing campaign and also a petition. So I know a while back I had promised a petition. That's coming. Then I'm working with the folks from the Beacon Climate Action Network. They're a fantastic group of primarily younger adults than I am, though there are a couple of members from my generation. And there's a small group of us who are meeting. I think our first meeting is this Thursday, and we are looking at venues in Beacon. There's a couple of church venues. There's the rec center. There's a Howland Library. So we've started to put out feelers so that we have a Beacon event. And then I heard from the librarian at the Morton Library today in Rhinebeck, who is interested in sponsoring us, and that is likely to be in May. We are hoping that we will have some big events, probably a lot of small events where we just take this to existing groups who are meeting as guests and share it with them. That this will be an ongoing project with the official rollout on the 21st of April, and it will go through the calendar year. The initial goal is at least 15 postcards written to the Dutchess County legislators and to Sue Serino as the county, what is she, the manager?
You're saying 50? You're saying 50 from each county legislative district?
No, it's 250 total is our first goal, along with petition signatures. So we're what we want to do is quantify our goals, and this is the New York State leadership of Mothers Out Front is very good at, like, they've provided us with a lot of visual supports and a Canva account, and there's a little bit of money from them and a little bit of money from BCAN. So I will share all of the outreach materials with you all. But I really meant it, if you want to come on the 19th to sort of preview the slide pack. Right now it's about 30 slides. The slides themselves don't have a lot of words, right? This is really meant to be a visually engaging introduction. The speaker notes, of course, are much more detailed than the images on the screen, but it's it is meant to be a very accessible presentation. And that's my report.
Awesome.
Sandy, when you show the slide, the PowerPoints, can we see them from afar? Like, will there be a virtual
So when we do the virtual screening, we'll share our screen, right? It'll be
Great.
on Zoom.
Okay.
So it's a screen sharing. And when we do it in person, it will be on a large screen.
Great. Okay,
It
thank
will
you.
be easy to, it will be, so I've, because I work for the arts office at this New York City Public Schools, I've actually had some training in what makes slide presentations accessible to screen readers, to visually impaired people. And those accessibility guidelines I have used for this because they actually work for everybody. So, large font, lots of space between the lines, high contrast, and so on. So
That's awesome, Sandy. I definitely want to join you for that thing on March 19th for the preview, and that's excellent. Hey, Neil, did you want to verbalize what you put in the chat there? There's a Zero Waste New York Zoom tomorrow night at 5:30. I would
Go
like
ahead.
to be on that. Neil, could you email me the details for the Zero Waste New York Zoom tomorrow night?
I will do that.
Awesome. And then Mike Ewall's also working on continuous monitoring. Sandy, that's awesome. Excellent work.
And I just want to jump in and say, Neil, if you're going to come, I mean, if anybody there with, like, obviously, I'm not an expert in any of this, right? I'm the person who puts up the visuals and sort of the concept, and Johanna is the researcher. And at any point in time, if anybody who has real expertise in this attends an event, then there would be an opportunity for Q&A with the attendees to get a little, a little more in the weeds with this, a little more detail. So we would, we'll reach out to you, Neil.
Yeah, I'll definitely come. Laura and I will drive up and have some fun at some of these events.
Right.
Awesomeness. Shabazz, are you there? Shabazz Jackson, are you there? Mike Ewall, tell us what's new in your world.
Oh gosh, give me a second to switch to a new Zoom account. I'm gonna log in on a different computer so you can hear me better.
Okay, we can hear you, Greg. We can hear you.
You're fine.
Okay, okay.
Great.
Well, gosh, spending part of this meeting keeping balls in the air, helping people fight Cavanta incinerators in Pennsylvania and Connecticut at the moment, and also some stuff in Hawaii. So sorry I'm not at full attention as I should be. But gosh, been working on some of the federal level stuff that was mentioned with the EPA WARM model and the incinerator rule that's coming down as well. So we got dueling comment periods going on at EPA right now. One is over on the 15th, that's the WARM model one, and the other one's over on the 25th, and that's for the new incinerator regulations. Which don't kick in until 4 or 5 years from now. So don't get too excited about those doing much anytime soon or doing much, period. The work I'm doing on continuous monitoring, been learning more from the law that we got passed in Oregon, where Cavanta is now going to be forced to do continuous monitoring for dioxins, furans, PCBs, and a bunch of toxic metals. And we're making progress getting a similar, even stronger bill passed in Hawaii, cleared both environmental committees, and then it got killed in a different committee. So that's probably not going anywhere this year, but I think we were lucky in Oregon to get a state bill passed in 1 year. That's not typical. But it'd be pretty sweet to try that in New York at some point, although you're the state with more incinerators than any other. So I don't imagine that's going to be an easy thing to be doing. But I am excited about the potential to do it at the town of Poughkeepsie level. And I think if we get to the point where we have a majority of local town board members who are ready to take that sort of action, I would love to work with them on getting that drafted. So yeah, I'll just stop there, and if folks have questions on any of this stuff, I'm happy to field them.
So you're saying do a town of Poughkeepsie version of the Oregon law for continuous monitoring?
Yeah, but I would model it more on our one in Hawaii. The legislative process in Oregon was sausage making at its best. So there were some mistakes in the way that came out.
Are there politicians in the Hawaii state legislature that are trying to get the same law passed in Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, the one that drafted that and been working with the Clean Power Task Force in Hawaii to push that forward. And there are some legislators who have sponsored it for us. And I wouldn't say that they're the main champions. It's a little bit of a mess the way it got introduced. We had someone Senate side, Tulsi Gabbard's father actually heads the environmental committee in the Senate, and he introduced it, but not as himself as a sponsor. He did it on request, which is like, yeah, I did this because someone asked me to, but it wasn't like putting his weight behind it. And in the that was in the Senate side. In the House side, we had someone, we had the speaker introduce it on request, which is like no one's endorsing that. Basically, it didn't even get a hearing. But a very pared down, stripped down version that we didn't support at all did get a hearing, and we had such a good turnout pushing for that to include all the things that they took out of it for whatever reason, because it started off with a bunch of good sponsors. So we got them to turn that into our bill, and it turned it into everything we had and added landfills in a way to it. So it made it even stronger. So then we were pretty excited and we were pushing that bill, and then it got crushed in a corporate controlled committee that it got assigned to after that one. So the guy heading that committee is out of office next year. So we'll see what other corporate stooge gets to head that committee next year, and maybe we'll have a better chance. Who knows? It's a
Can I
learning
ask-
process.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Was there any media coverage of this so that people know that
No.
this is going on?
There was a different bill that sounded like it was the same kind of thing that did get a news article about monitoring of landfills, at least. I'm not sure if it said incinerators, but maybe waste facilities generally. And so there's some article on that, but I don't think that bill went anywhere either. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I was thinking, hey, I should reach out to that reporter. They can run almost the same headline and talk about our bill, but
Right.
it unfortunately is probably dead for this year.
Yeah. Okay.
But the thing is, the local government's where the people power is. You know, getting things passed in the state legislature is much harder. And Oregon and Hawaii are states with one incinerator each. You've got 10. So the chances that you're going to get this passed in the ledger are small, even though some good things have passed against incinerators in New York, which is shocking to me that they have. So it's not out of the question, but I think if you organize well at the town level, that's where I would start and really get yourselves the votes lined up there, and you can crush this thing.
Mhm. Okay.
Amen. That's Mike Ewall of the Energy Justice Network. Shabazz Jackson, are you there? Shabazz? I'm going to send a text message to Shabazz. But while I'm trying to reach Shabazz, Phil Stamatis, are you still there?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. I know like a few months ago, you gave a whole rundown of what's happening in Beacon. I wrote down, I took notes. I misplaced those notes. So just in the last week, I Googled, there was a SpectrumLocalNews.com piece that came out like last September. Could you give us a bunch of numbers on exactly like what percentage of people in Beacon are doing it? Exactly how the composting program is running in Beacon?
Sure. I can't give you a percentage of households, but I can tell you that in 2023, the city we were able to collect over 100,000 pounds of organic waste and divert that from the incinerator Poughkeepsie. We're trending right now to have a 34% increase so far this year. So I'm projecting we'll get to 150,000 pounds this year in 23.
Wow.
Worked with folks over at Beacon Climate Action Now or Network. They're a great partnership. Yeah, they're friends and neighbors of mine. Happy to host an event or partner with Sandi at for anything. But we have it's over a ton a week. We also have a huge backyard component where we were able to subsidize backyard bins on top of the 3 drop-off locations. Our biggest update is just the cleanup contamination on a weekly basis with our new hauler because they are now organic certified. So like they don't take the compostable plastics or the liners as of this year, 24. So that's our biggest hurdle right now. And then our future goal is we want to pilot a program with the schools to get some school district involvement at the elementary level because that'll change behavior all the way throughout. And then helping all you folks get the incinerator shut down in Dutchess would be great.
Wow. That's great.
A clarifying question. So
I
when
have
you
several too.
when you say that the new hauler is also hauls organic so that they won't take, what they're not taking is all of the so-called compostable takeout containers, but I
Food
understand
waste
that.
only. If you
Hmm.
can't eat it, don't put it in my compost bin.
Okay, so yeah, so people, I think people don't quite get that yet.
Correct.
I don't quite get that yet. And so what do we do with all that stuff? Like, I was so relieved to be able to like order takeout again without feeling guilty. And now I'm back to we're all back to square one, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Like if it's made from, some of it's made from, or it
I
says,
think bamboo products are the only one acceptable, but as a city of over 10,000, we need to make a very uniform, clear message of this, none of it, because then we're getting into too much confusion with the public.
okay.
I know it was a very tough decision we had to make this year we had a very all-encompassing program in 23. And due to price being, the city would not have renewed it at the price we were being quoted for 24. So we had to change our processor.
Okay.
So you're the ones who got the organic hauler, is that right?
Yeah, since we use it's fully taxpayer funded money. It's on our city budget. Every year it goes out to bid for RFPs or, call for proposals, and multiple, whoever, sees the call submitted a bid. And this year it's Community Compost, who's in Kerhunks in New York. They also offer a private collection I know one of my neighbors has a bucket for curbside pickup. They offer that already in the city of Beacon. So it made sense that it's already the same truck that's coming here, and they put together a nice bid.
Great.
So it's really one of those hidden complications that you don't foresee, that kind of puts a real crimp in the whole process.
If I could ask a couple of questions, Philip, congratulations. So not only on a great report, but on accomplishing that. Has your experience been written up at all? And I'll tell you why I ask. As I understand it, not only in Dutchess County, but in Westchester County, groups are starting to do composting, as I said earlier, exactly the way recycling started years ago. We've been helped. I'm working on a compost project in Detroit. When we got a lot of good information from Rust Belt riders, how to grow from community citywide in Detroit. And I think what you're doing is creating a model for many of the other communities near and far. So, and the last thing I'll say is there seem to be a ton of grants coming out of USDA for composting. If you, I can refer you things, but you probably already know them. And this is not for your it's for your program, but it's for the city. I know from talking to people who are giving out the money, the more diverse groups that are in the proposal, like a city agency and community composting here, there, the more likely you are to get grants. That's my reaction to your presentation. And again, thanks.
Thank you. Like Joel said, it was a piece in Spectrum News, which was somewhat big. I had a few people communicate me from that. But the Highland Current, which is our local newspaper, did a 3-week bit regarding waste in general, talking trash. And the Highland Current was pretty big this past month or so.
Could you put, do you have the URLs? Could you
I can put in the chat.
That would be great. I'd love to follow up. Thanks. I also want to say that we would like as more, not only Joel, but however many people can join our New York Zero Waste New York. It's a new coalition, and we meet every other Wednesday. I said the next meeting is this coming Wednesday. I was wrong. The next meeting is on the 13th at 5 p.m. It lasts an hour, and we're planning, that will be on the agenda, a day of action, a New York State Day of Action, which means we're going to coordinate local groups throughout the state, some that are fighting incinerators or landfills, others that are doing good things like composting and reuse businesses. So they'll all be featured. And in Albany, the capital, there's going to be an event, and we're gearing up for that. We certainly won't be able to gear up before April. This will probably be May, possibly even June. But if you're at all interested, and we really need participation, please join us on the 13th. And I put the URL in the chat.
Okay.
Does anybody remember the Lucille Ball, the I Love Lucy episode when she has chocolate all over her face? And
Yes, right. Is that what boy's
that's our-
got now?
that's our 4-year-old right now with the Nutella. And then I had to cut up a pepper the right way. So sorry, I've been sort of multitasking here. You have no idea what's been going on. Thank you, Philip. That was excellent. Do we know how many households are using the drop-off bins or curbside, or is there any curbside collection going on in Beacon?
Yes, but it's private and by private organization. I don't have that data. We can project, but there's probably 500 households they're doing the drop off at least, considering we're doing, a ton to a ton and a half per week. Divided by what, 10 pounds per household or so. It's, some math like that.
So 500 privately.
Well,
And-
that are using our 12 bins, citywide.
Okay,
It's probably more. We have 5,000 registered households or more, so
okay.
we're probably getting at least 500 to 1,000 of those households that are using the drop off. A lot of our apartment dwellers need this service, but many
Right.
like myself, I have a small piece of, a property. I can do it
Right.
on my own property, so it's hard to factor in the folks that are doing the at-home composting.
Right. I wonder if we could get some of that information sometime, because certainly here, almost everybody has a backyard. It'd be a very small percentage of people who couldn't do it themselves here. So it'd be kind of a good idea to see if we can get a beat on that. I'm not sure how, but if anybody gets any ideas on how to do that, let me know. And I'm very interested, Neil, in the date that in May or June, because we kind of want to have a zero waste fair.
So if I could just,
Excuse me. We'll be in touch, Judy.
Good,
In
good.
fact, please join us on the 13th at 5 p.m.
Well, I thought I joined that group. I registered in it, but I haven't heard anything.
Oh, well, I'll
At
first of
Zero
all,
Waste. I thought,
Zero Waste New York. Well, I put
Yeah.
the URL for the meeting on the 13th, but I'll make sure people get in touch with you.
okay, great.
Philip, can I ask you, do you know if any restaurants in Beacon are doing the food waste composting? Like, is there curbside collection of organics for any restaurants in Beacon that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, since our program is city taxpayer funded, we're only offering it to residential component properties now.
Mhm.
Um, And like Sandy was saying, like a lot of our restaurants have recognized that. And since with our program last year, they made conversions to do the compostable to-go material. So we kind of feel like we let them down a little bit by changing haulers, and we are trying to figure out a solution to get the restaurants, because we have a ton on our mile-long Main Street. How to get them some support. I don't think anyone's doing it. Any restaurants are doing their own private organic pickup at this time. We haven't gotten that far.
You changed haulers. Can I ask why you changed haulers?
Just budget pricing.
All right.
You
Thank you.
were out-
8,000 versus 20,000 kind of deal. We had to
think
go with
you
the
were
8,
out
or it
with
wasn't
this
gonna get funded at all.
Say that again, what?
It was $8,000 budget versus like a $20,000 budget. So it was either get funded, it was either have the program or not. So we were given an ultimatum.
So who are the best haulers that you got?
Currently, we have Community Compost Company out of Kerhonkson. Our hauler last year was CRP Sanitation, which is in Cortland Manor, Westchester.
It works for you down there in the southern end of the county.
Right, we're at the southern tip of Dutchess County, right,
Yeah.
right above Putnam County. So
Right,
they're both
right.
about equal distance, 22 miles to drive south versus I think 38 to go to the north. But that truck that was coming from the north was already coming for private pickup. So we did take a truck off the road.
Shabazz just sent me a text. He says, I think we are muted. You guys are muted. I don't know why. Asked to unmute. Oh. Please unmute if you can. All right, so there's some technological difficulties, but Shabazz is dying to talk and update us all on what he's been doing. Next step is Monticello. Hurley Town Board came up with a legal way to do it. He's got something really special going on with a nonprofit in Poughkeepsie. Thank you, honey. And that's what she just gave me. I have no idea. She's doing zero waste. God only knows what's in here. The New York Times bag. Her clothes.
New York
are in
Times
there.
bag.
There's a permaculture guy in Canada who I watch some of his videos. He's an engineer by profession, a permaculturist. That's his hobby at home. And so there's a town near him where some people on bikes with trailers went around picking up people's compost, which, that's obviously a good thing. But then there was a city near him where they were sending vans around to pick up people's compost. And that was the point where like the environmental benefits took a big dive because of all the gas and stuff used to transport compost. So I think one thing we should really, really try to do is just get people to compost at home and the trucking to a minimum.
Absolutely.
That's not a bad idea at all. I mean, Layla and I are talking about buying a house. We may be closing in a few weeks, but there's a lot of people who live in apartments, and it's difficult to impossible to compost. But I hear what you're saying. I don't want to throw away entirely curbside collection.
I'm just saying there's different layers of what can be done, and the ideal we shoot for, like zero waste, isn't going to be a thing probably that ever happens, but it's something that we that we strive towards. And it's the same thing with the compost. Like, obviously some people, it would be incredibly difficult for them to compost, but there are like countertop compost things now. And even if they couldn't put the compost out on their curb to feed the local tree, you know, it's a lot easier to transport pre-composted stuff than, you know, if we can limit the amount of trucks we need to drive around, it's better. That's all.
No, that's a good point. I wanted to point out that one goal that I've sort of set for the group, I don't know if we can do this, is to come out with a 2004 Earth Day Zero Waste Dutchess State of the County report. And in that report would basically be a page or two or more, and it would document what's happening in the different municipalities as far as you know, which ones are the setting the pace and setting a great example as far as moving towards zero waste, and which ones aren't. I know that Rhinebeck, the village of Rhinebeck, is doing great with composting. It seems like the city of Beacon is doing great with composting. Doreen Tignanelli pointed out that even before the Democratic administration took over in the town of Poughkeepsie, that it looks like they may be doing some food waste and composting in town of Poughkeepsie soon. And Shabazz Jackson is dying to talk about, he just got out of the meeting. He's going to try to come back on, and hopefully, because he was trying to unmute himself for the last 54 minutes. But there's a nonprofit agency in Poughkeepsie, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag fully, that Shabazz and Josephine are working with. But also, like Philip was mentioning, you know, the schools. I used to be a math teacher in the Bronx for 5 years, and it drove me crazy to see the styrofoam trays loading up the garbage containers at lunch every day. So are there any schools moving towards zero waste the right way? What's happening with the restaurants? And then, so just for the 8 or 9 of us on this call, yeah, if you see a restaurant, you happen to find out about a restaurant or a store or a school that's doing something remarkable, please let my mom know or let me know, because that's what we're trying to do. And I know Dave has agreed. There's Shabazz Jackson. Dave has agreed to tackle 3 or 4 municipalities. Peter Van Aken. Pete, were you able to reach out at all to folks in the? Pete got a bunch of information, contact information from Carolyn Clocker from Cornell for CACs around.
Right, but nothing further than that, Joel.
That's all right. That's all right. Earth Day is still like 2 months away. Today is it's the beginning of March, right? So we have like 6 or 7 weeks.
So I did Amenia, the Northeast, and Pine Plains. So nothing in Amenia. The town of Millerton, which is in the village of Millerton, which is in the town of Northeast. The village does leaf pickup in the fall, but that's as close as they come to any kind of compost yard waste. And I wasn't able to find out anything about Pine Plains, but I imagine that they don't do anything either, because again, it's so rural that, you know, most people probably already compost.
Gotcha.
You didn't have to happen to call McEnroe's farm.
I think
did.
I think
Okay.
Shabazz can talk now. Shabazz, can you hear us?
Hey,
Shabazz Jackson, are you there? I'm gonna text him again.
It says he is. Nope,
Just lost him.
he's over on the side now. There he is.
There he is. Shabazz, how's it going? Hello, hello.
Yep, there we go.
Hello, hello. Do you want? I have an idea. I have a good idea.
Can't you just unmute him, Joel?
Yeah, he's already unmuted.
Joe,
Shabazz, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So you're on, bro.
You know, this is a real technological triumph, I guess, because now I'm talking to you through my phone and through my watch. So I'm getting a lot of feedback, but my voice sounds normal, but there's a little echo. You know, in listening to the meeting, we bid on Beacon with Royal, and our bid was based on observing the existing collection that was going on, and you know the problems that Beacon had with really the volume. The infrastructure was not adequate for the volume. So I think that's why our bid came in high. We are able to take in the compostable plastics. And we take in about 60 tons a week from the colleges and some of the industry and the agricultural industry and from places like yeah. So we're planning to put together a Earth Day conference at our backyard and community composter that we put together at the Reformed Church in New Paltz. And we believe that the community composter, the facility supported community composter that we have there is something that would be very adequate for the city of Beacon. We're currently working with the Hudson River Housing in Poughkeepsie. We have a proposal in to put in a community composting system for a halfway house that they're putting together on Clinton Street. So that project we're going to do in conjunction with Nubian Directions. And so we're going to be doing the training for the installation. What we feel we have done is we have really advanced the composting technique and technology. And we've developed two products, which are actually made from the food waste compost that we take in from commercial operations. And one is called odor control blend. And you kind of use it very similar to cat litter, but you mix it with your food waste, and it has all of the microorganisms needed to break down the complex carbohydrates, fats, and proteins in our food waste. The problem that many composters have, or many people that are attempting to compost, is that in our natural environment, we don't have the microorganisms that break down proteins and complex carbohydrates. So we provide, it's kind of like a super grounds And because it's made from waste, it is very inexpensive. So currently we're giving some away. But for the Hurley project, we would sell it into the Hurley project for $40 a cubic yard. And so that works out to be $1 a bucket. And a bucket lasts a household about a month. So, and then what that does is it completely controls the odors, and it prepares the food for backyard or community composting. So at the DEC has reviewed the operation that we have at the New Paltz Community Garden, the Reformed Church Community Garden, and they've rated it for 1,000 pounds a week, and it's at about 800 pounds a week. So it's getting close to capacity there. But the capacity is 24 tons per year. So if you look at what the city of Beacon is doing, they're doing about 75 tons a year. And so that the version of the community compost is very, very cost effective. And it's worthwhile doing the same kind of experiment or pilot project that we're planning to put together in Poughkeepsie. So that is supposed to be online by the beginning of April. And then, so people would be able to take a look at that in Poughkeepsie. And then the full project is in at the Reformed Church in New Paltz, and that's 92 Huguenot Street. So you can give us, if you want to take a tour, we give tours Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And you just give us a call, 845-656-6070 or 6071, and we can schedule a tour. And we do give a lot of tours, and all the people from Hurley have the board members have taken a tour, and I believe that is the reason why we've gotten to the point we have, because the tours really convince people that we have solved all the problems. The vote on the contract is coming up on May 12th. And we feel like it's going to go through, and we're going to be able to really start on that project. It's taken us almost 2 years to develop it. Part of the reason why it was difficult is because it's difficult for a for-profit company to do business on public land. Certainly not impossible, but it's difficult. And then so that was something that we had to overcome. But we feel like we have a contract that is a very solid contract for them, and we feel like our ideas are protected through the development of the contract.
Love it. So everybody has to go to New Paltz to check out what Shabazz is talking about.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Definitely, Poughkeepsie, Beacon, give us a call, take a look. Because it is a very, very cost-effective approach, and it takes all of the problems out of backyard and community compost.
I'll give you a call. You'll hear my name. Thank you, Shabazz.
Anybody tell you sound like Lou Gehrig?
Today, I'm a better man. Sandy, thank you. We just lost Sandy. Well, for the good of the order, thank you so much, Shabazz. What does anybody else have to say? Say.
No, stop it.
So I'm curious about, I have a basic elementary question about wintertime, freezing weather. I know that composting, the whole principle is generates heat. That's great, generates heat. But I try and compost my food waste in my backyard, and in the winter, it's just not as comfortable, or you don't get put the layer of soil in as easily. The soil is frozen. So I'm just curious, does composting on a scale like Shabazz or others do in that huge volume, are they bothered by freezing cold snow covered ground?
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Shabazz, say that one more time. Shabazz said at the volumes that they take in, it never freezes.
But the challenge is at the and community composting level, right? Not at the commercial. So what we do at the community composting level is we use hay bales. So say the beginning of December or so, our setup is much more sophisticated than what you have been used to looking at. But we have an area that where we receive the material, and that is received in a structure. So the individual mixes his material at home with the odor control blend. And the odor control blend is kept inside the house, so it never freezes. And then he brings it to the composter. So this would be the same thing in your backyard. So in your backyard, you would empty your composter out in December. Take all of the material there, put it into a curing, and then you can just add the food waste odor control mixture to your empty composter through the winter. And there's enough of a mix that, and with the cold weather, that you won't have any odor problems, and you have plenty of capacity. At the community composter, we put hay bales on top of and it's just 2 hay bales on top of the compost area. So the material comes in from the homeowners, and there's about 30 homeowners that use the New Paltz, Huguenot Street. And then we move it to the compost, and we just slide the hay bales off, mix it with the rapid decomposition medium, and cover it up. And that way, it never freezes, and we're able to manage through the whole winter. So this winter, was our first winter with it. And that's the method that we came up with. And because it's just a couple of hay bales, it's easy to manage, and it deals with the freeze problem.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
So Shabazz, say it again.
You have to come and take a look, because it's something, you know, most of you know that I've been working on this for 50 years. And we have really solved the problems associated with food waste management. And we have accumulated enough material to make 25 million buckets of odor control. So these projects are really establishing the market. But once we establish the market, we're going to be able to fill it. And we're going to address the problems. Because if it doesn't work in the kitchen, if it doesn't work for your average 10-year-old kid, if it doesn't work for the cook, it's not going to work. So if you look at what the city of Aken is doing, you know, I know from being recycling coordinator there, I know how much waste is going to the incinerator. And, you know, we at our facility in Clintondale, we take in a week what the city of Aken does in a year. So I know that it could, there's a lot of room for improvement. And you have to realize with resource recovery that there's not a one size fits all. There is a series of systems that have to be used for recovered waste. Because a thing that works for one person doesn't work for another.
Amen. I think it was back in 2009 or 2010. I think it was 2009. I visited Shabazz and Josephine at the Vassar Farm site, and Shabazz impressed me with the odor control, and the groundwater contamination problems were all solved. And so if you haven't seen Shabazz's work up close and personal, I have. You all need to do that. Drive to Clintondale or drive to New Paltz and check that out. Maybe carpool, meet in Poughkeepsie or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anything? We still have 8 people on. It's been over an hour and 15 minutes. You guys are awesome. Anything else?
I would just love to have a reference person for composting in Rhinebeck. Can you give me the name and the phone number of someone doing it so I can contact them?
I'm guessing it's Vanessa Bertozzi. You still live on Chestnut Street, right? That's in the village. So there's a village board member who's a strong environmentalist. I think her name is Vanessa Bertozzi, and she's the one that's been really shepherding and spearheading and watching over that program. Originally, it was going to be at the Village Highway Department property, right at the corner of Route 308 and Violet Hill Road. And then people came out with pitchforks and everything. And so a very wealthy landowner who owns a horse farm said, hey, okay, I still want Village of Rhinebeck to do that. Just bring all your food waste compost to me at this horse farm. So I would just call, I was at 876-7015. I would call Rhinebeck Village Hall and ask to speak to Vanessa Bertozzi or the village clerk.
It's
But-
7015, 876-7015.
I'll email you, but yeah, it's the Rhinebeck Village Hall. Vanessa Bertozzi, she's an amazing environmentalist. It's been her baby all along.
Okay, that's great. That's what I want. Good, thank you.
Yep. climatesmartrhinebeck.org/compost. Hey, Marcia, can you access the chat?
What do you mean?
She's got to she's got to teach her how to do it.
So you see at the bottom of the screen where it says mute, stop video, security, participants?
It says leave. I see something in
No,
red that
try
says
the
leave.
top. Try the top, Joel.
The top? No, that has just our names.
Yeah, try
Oh,
that.
meeting, view, edit, window, help.
Yep, that's it.
So what do you
Now
want me to press?
Okay, do you see the little dots? The little like 6 dots, 9 dots?
No, I see 3 dots, red, yellow.
Okay,
and
hit that.
green.
Hit that.
What color?
Just hit it. No, not those 3 dots. Oh, wait, no, not those 3 dots.
Oh, well, that's okay. I'll call the village hall.
I'll bring my computer and see how it works. If it works the same as mine, I'll help you with that.
I have a Mac.
Dave and Marcia
Oh,
and
Mac.
Bob and Peter, are you guys going to get together and make some videos?
Yeah, it's in the works.
No pressure, no pressure. The Shabazz, let me ask a question of Shabazz. Is the Hudson River housing thing definitely happening, or you just put in a proposal?
Well, we have everything in place, so it's just a matter of kind of making the deal. But something is going to happen because everybody wants to find the way to solve this problem, and everyone is tired of hearing about it. They're tired of talking about it, and as you look at the climate smart evaluations, what we're finding is that the closed landfills are providing 80 or 90% of our greenhouse gases coming out of our communities. So we are able to start to really quantify, because of that evaluation and assessment that is basically funded by the state, to understand the impact of our solid waste management has on our carbon footprint. And this is in part why we've gone so far in Hurley, because they have a bronze certification, and 90% of their greenhouse gases come from the landfill. We are privileged to be able to send our waste to Seneca Meadows, and that doesn't count towards our carbon footprint, our individual carbon footprint. But technically it should. Technically, because we see now that we've done the assessment, we see now what our closed landfills contribute to our climate change.
Okay.
And landfills are horrible, but Mike, it's still true that incinerators are far worse than landfills, right? Or
Yes, even for the climate, they're far worse, definitely.
but landfills are not a party or a picnic.
Landfills are no good. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be branded as pro landfill. That's not what we're about at all. But we need to recognize what the science says and the common sense also says, which is that landfills are bad, but using an incinerator and a landfill, both, because the ash has to go somewhere, is actually far worse, far more toxic, worse for the climate, worse for community health, and is more expensive usually too. So it's no win to go with an incinerator. Pun intended, maybe. Judy.
I wanted to know more about this compostable plastic.
Oh,
that,
talk about that.
But yeah, how do we recognize that, and how do we know what it is?
How to know what it is? Gosh, usually
Who
they're
you?
labeled, but sometimes they're not obviously labeled enough that you have a hard time reading it. But
Okay.
um, my little spiel on compostable plastics is that they're problematic in all three stages: in production, in use, and in disposal.
Okay.
The production typically starts with biotech corn because they make it from polylactic acid, which is made from corn, which in the US, 95% of that is genetically modified. So they can spray more Roundup or other herbicides, which means more amphibians, more cancer and farm workers and such. And then that, and probably you don't want to live next to the polylactic acid factory either, but production system itself is toxic and dangerous. The use of it, if you look at Mother Jones once did a study, this is an investigative journal magazine. They sent samples to laboratories of all 7 plastic types plus PLA, polylactic acid compostable plastic, and tested for which ones leach out xenoestrogen, like estrogen, like hormone mimicking chemicals when you use them. And the polylactic acid was second only to polycarbonate, plastic number 7, like a combination of plastics.
Oh, geez.
It was the second worst type of plastic in terms of leaching stuff that messes with your hormones. 91% of the sample is leached that. So it's not even safe to eat off of. And then when it comes to disposal, it's a lose-lose-lose situation.
Okay.
Because if you throw it in recycling, it's a contaminant. And a lot of people can't read the things and aren't going to stare at that little plastic cutlery thing and see if that fork has the word compostable or PLA stamped on it. So either they throw it in the recycling bins, they don't know better. Even the normal stuff you're not supposed to throw in recycling bins because that plastic number 6, the normal plastic utensils, they're also not something you can put in a recycling bin. But if you put it in the compost, then you're contaminating the compost because most compost places aren't high heat enough to be able to handle that material or don't want it. Maybe because it also gets confused with plastic, they end up with real plastic too. So a lot of composters don't want that stuff. But you also, it's hard for consumers to know what it even is and to pick the right bin. Or you buy it at a place like a natural food place that thinks they're doing the right thing. And if you ask them, well, where do I put this material when I'm done with it? And I've had some places tell me, oh, you put it in the recycling bin. Like, this is wrong. Who can tell me where it really goes? And they say, oh, that goes in composting. I'm like, great. Where's your compost bin? Oh, well, we don't have one. Or if they do, it's like, oh, yeah, you can put it in there. But you ask them, well, does it go to a high heat industrial composter that can handle this material? They have no idea. It's rare that you can have the right disposal situation for a consumer to even put it in the right place. And if you put it in a trash bin, then if it goes to an incinerator, of course, it's air pollution and greenhouse gases and toxic stuff. And if you put it in a landfill, it's actually possibly worse than normal plastics because if it's breaking down in that landfill, you're getting greenhouse gases you wouldn't have if the plastics aren't able to break down the same way.
Okay.
So I think the best thing to do is just ban the stuff, really just stop promoting it as an eco-friendly solution because it's a problematic material on all levels. And we need to get people to get serious about reuse and like reusable, washable stuff so that we're not trying to use this as an escape valve for a single-use disposable culture.
Right. Gotcha. That's interesting.
Well said. Well, I think we solved one problem tonight. Shabazz's voice doesn't seem to be echoing anymore. And also there's a couple different mottos running around, a couple different slogans. Try this one on for size. Hashtag starve the beast. The beast being the Dutchess County incinerator, right? Starve the beast, shut it down. Huh? All right, whatever. Just put it in the mix, run it up the flagpole, see if it salutes. Anybody else got anything to say? Well, I guess we'll end. I love you all dearly. Oh, well, hold on. Let me just stop